Today, the stock market is up, and it has been up all year long. However, there are some significant risks that we should be concerned about for 2025, including tariffs and what that could mean for the entire U.S. economy, and especially for the stock market and for your own portfolio. And because of that, there are some people concerned and saying, look, if we have tariffs, if this happens to the stock market and things start to fall apart, I should start moving some things. And one of the safest places usually to be in the stock market is healthcare stocks, because regardless of what happens, you need your medication, you need surgical equipment. That is a place that time after time, decade after decade, healthcare just tends to be incredibly stable. But here's the thing. Not every healthcare stock is good. So, what are the healthcare stocks that you should absolutely consider avoiding? Let's go ahead and break it down. So, here's the thing, all right? There are some healthcare stocks that are great right now, and then some that you might want to avoid, at least for the time being. And any single time that we do lists like these, remember that this is temporary, okay? Stocks can be bad this season and great next season. You're going to see one of those that has been on both sides of this fence. So I'm going to kind of run through these and just tell you, hey, you might want to avoid it. And the reason why you want to avoid it, other than the fact that you probably don't want to lose money, is this. When you lose money, I say this all the time, but we got new people. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't, this is your opportunity to do so. But when you lose money in the stock market, or just in general, it's going to force you to make more. So for example, if you lose 25%, feel free to do your scratch paper. I used to be a math teacher. But when you lose 25%, you are going to need close to 33% to break even. All right, so you choose a terrible stock and you just continue to hold on to it. For you to get back to where you were to break even, you're going to need just over 33%. You lose 30% in a stock, you're going to need close to 42% to break even. So once you dig that hole, it's going to be really hard to break even. And there is a stock that has lost more than 70%. So if you lose 70% in something, you're going to need 233% to break even. Ugh. It ain't great. So, what are the stocks that you should consider avoiding? Doxcon, okay? DXCM is a stock symbol here. That's down right now 29% in the last 6 months and down 34% over last year. Now, I am somebody who generally does like medical device companies, because you would think that a medical device, or the surgical, Intuitive Surgical, I think is the name of the company. We've talked about it before. One of the better stocks out there. Medical devices, surgical devices. You need these types of things. I would assume that this would be fine, right? But again, that's not every single, just because healthcare is stable is not blanket immunity for every healthcare stock out there. So it's one you might want to avoid for now. Could it be great in the future? Could any of these stocks be great in the future? Yes, they absolutely could. Right now, though, I don't know if you want to continue losing 29% or continue losing 30%, because finding a stock that's going to make 42, which is obviously not a guarantee, is going to be even more difficult, especially going into a box of questions for 2025, which every year, every day in the future is a box of questions. All right. Next here is Canist, however you want to pronounce it. CNC is the stock symbol here. Down 15% in the last 6 months, down 20% over last year. It ain't the worst. It ain't the worst, especially on this list. But again, I don't want to lose no money. Okay, and I definitely don't want to lose double digits, especially in a year when the stock market as a whole is up double digits. So we can just scratch that one off the list and continue moving on to the next. Now this one is Biogen. Biogen usually, at least in my mind, and perhaps it's my own bias because I'm not going to call it a brand name. I don't think it's a household name. But Biogen, at least to me, is a company I feel like some people know of. Maybe it's just bias. Y'all let me know in the comments. But down 30% in the last 6 months, down 36% over last year. Absolutely unacceptable. If you're looking into healthcare, this ain't the one to be in. Okay, so this is one. Healthcare can work. Healthcare might be one of the better places to be in almost any year. It might not be for right now, and it most certainly probably isn't going to be that place. This particular stock might not be that space for what we know right now in 2025. So definitely kind of avoid this one at the time being, unless something magical changes. Now this next one is a little bit more difficult to talk about, and you're going to see exactly why that's the case. This one is Humana. Now, Humana is a health insurance company. The stock symbol is HUM. Now, it was on the list before the events of today, and though it is a separate company, sometimes the stock market can conflate the two. That's because about 4 hours ago, the CEO of United Healthcare was shot and killed during a meeting, I guess it was a shareholder meeting, in New York City earlier today. Sad, tragic event. But also, it is a health insurance company. Now, again, sometimes the stock market will conflate two companies together or the entire industry together, and all those stocks will fall. Is that going to happen here today? Is that going to make the numbers for Humana much worse? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, but for example, we have seen an AI stock. Let's say, I'm just going to throw Google out there. Google does something, they report less revenue, or Amazon reports less revenue, or Netflix reports less revenue, and all streaming companies start to fall. Or Nvidia says something about chips, and then Intel falls, and everything else falls because of that. So those things do happen. Just throwing that out there. Even though United Healthcare has nothing really to do with Humana. However, Humana is shocking to be on a list like this, and obviously Humana had not done well prior to today's tragic events. For example, they were down 19% over the last 6 months and down 38% over the last year, which again, I'm somebody who is for several years liked insurance companies, whether it's like Progressive or Travelers. These are very boring companies, very basic companies, and there have been times where I do like health insurance companies because they're very boring, very basic, and they usually just trot along, especially in times of uncertainty. And every now and then I like to add a Progressive in my portfolio. I used to add, I think it was Cigna. There was a time, maybe 2021 or so, where Cigna was one of my best stocks that I had in my portfolio for a good little minute, for times like this, right? We weren't really sure of what was going to happen. But again, just because health insurance and just insurance is good does not mean every single one of these is great. One other example, and this is a mistake perhaps of my own doing, obviously it was my own doing, so this was my mistake, right, is going back to Intel, right? When we had talked about the mistake I made with Intel, how I lost money with Intel, this was almost a year ago now. AI stocks were doing great, tech stocks were doing great, and what I tried to do was find basically the cheapest tech stock, buy covered calls based on that. Now, at the time, Intel was doing good at the time. Intel was trending up, taking off. I don't know if it was up 30, 40%, whatever it was. They were living off of the CHIPS Act. They were getting an influx of government money. So they were moving in the right direction. If you took a snapshot of what Intel was doing at that point in time, it was great at that point in time, given the information that we have. Now, a year from now, right, or a year from then, looking at what we have now, CEO stepped down, stock is down 70%, whatever it is. Thank God I sold it when I did, and Intel's absolute garbage, right? So every tech stock ain't great, right? Nvidia's still good. Thank God I still hold that and all these other tech stocks. But you see what I mean here. Just because it has the label of healthcare, just because it has the label of insurance, and those two things can be good, don't mean every one of them is. And it doesn't mean you can just dig in this bag of healthcare and just pull out something that's automatically going to be great. Even I, with near 15 years of experience and all the things I've done in this space, can still make that costly mistake. I don't want you to do the same. Got it? We still got other stocks on here. All right. Moderna, another one. This is the one that was down 71% in the last 6 months. This one has been fool's gold. Another one another mistake that I would admit to. I've put up a chart of this one as well. Perhaps we can do that today or not, depending on how much time I got to edit. But if you don't, or if you don't see one on screen right now, look at your phone, look at Public, look at M1 Finance. I'll put a link for that in the description. Look at whatever app, Yahoo Finance, whatever app you want to look at right now. This is your opportunity to do so, because you'll see that in the summer, let's say between May and June, Moderna was great for a time and absolutely took off until it didn't, right? Nobody has a crystal ball, but if you were to just to crop out what happened after that, everybody would say, hey, Moderna is taking off, things are looking great, Moderna is running. And I think at the time, I'll have to go back and watch the video, but I'm pretty sure at the time we had insiders buying shares of Moderna too. Again, I need to go back and just refresh my memory on that one. But it was taking off. Nobody could deny that Moderna was taking off at that point in time. But then the election happened, but actually it was falling before that. Okay, it was falling before that. But then things got worse with some confirmations, Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., a whole bunch of other things, and things just fell apart for Moderna. So down 71% in last month, down 52% over last year. I don't think things in the short term are going to get better. This is one I would absolutely avoid. Even if Moderna starts to get better, just because of this volatility, this up and down, to go from where it was just a few months ago to where it is now, for me, my heart can't take it. That's not that up and down within a single year. That's not for me. Okay, I can't take those swings. You do what you want to do. That ain't for you, boy. Okay. Next here is Walgreens. I feel like Walgreens has been bad for a very long time. Walgreens may not have been great for as long as I can remember, especially for as long as I've been consistent on YouTube, which has been a good minute now. Okay, that's one I would absolutely avoid. It's been down about 44% over the last 6 months and down 65% over the last year. I don't know what is great about. I can make some jokes about Walgreens, but it is not a comedy set today. But Walgreens, it isn't good. I will say though that there are a lot of people. Again, I think y'all, because you subscribe and you're watching, especially at this point, you probably know where I would go with this in terms of a lot of new investors will feel that, hey, I walk past Walgreens, I go to Walgreens, I spend money at Walgreens, I feel like I know the stock, like that is my research because it exists and I see it with my own eyes, that is a good company. I feel like a lot of people used to think that, but I think we have been in these conversations enough times, and you've watched enough videos and you've done your research, and I think I've proven myself enough that we know that don't work. I think we're at the point that we know that. So I'm not gonna go deeper into detail, but I think we can say that we all know that Walgreens is not the place for it. But what I will add is this: so now that you know how dangerous it is to lose money, I don't think I need to tell you how dangerous it is. You don't like losing money, and I've already told you the math by losing 25%, 70%, so on and so forth. But there are two other things you do need. Okay, you need some stocks that's gonna make you some money. Okay, and you need an app to invest, right? Hopefully to make some money. Okay, so I do have a link in the description below for some of my favorite investing apps. So do check those out. That will help me out and hopefully help you out as well. Perhaps there are some benefits, discounts, benefits, things like that. And also, if you're looking for some stocks to invest in that could actually help your account grow, stocks you don't want to avoid, stocks you want to run towards, you want to check out these videos right here.